Yo, what is up, Ramblin' Raiders listeners? Welcome back to the RIP Week 5 college football picks and maybe a little bit of NFL. We're one short on the panel tonight, but in good company as always. I have Big Pick Joe rocking the dirty Texas Tech sweater out there in the wild, wild Pacific Northwest. And then Marky Mark, Tell Magic Mark. What's happening, brother? The A&M, I'm trying to think, the A&M connoisseur, the Aggie man.
Yeah, yeah. It's not been very fun to be a connoisseur of losing Wegman for the season. That's our third
Facts.
season in a row that our starting quarterback's gone out for the entire season early. So definitely tough. Not a bad week last week, gambling wise. 2-2 with a push. I did have Notre Dame live, so that touchdown and the dropped interception that was killer. But it was a great day of football. Not a bad slate this weekend, honestly, and I
Yeah.
love the board too. We'll get into that, but it's just, I mean, we're in the thick of it, boys.
I feel like Mark is just like he's never too high, never too low. He's just kind of right there trudging along, keeping us on our toes and also keeping that bank account in a good place, man. It's again, you're never too high, never too low. Hey, if there's one thing that Texas Tech fans and Aggies can like sit here and shake hands on, it's quarterbacks not making it through a full season because we
Yeah.
know your struggles there, brother. Fortunately for us, well, really unfortunately for Tyler Shuck, prayers up. I feel listen to the Ramblin' Raiders podcast that Jack and I just put out. Well, we put out Thursday. That's going to go in tandem with this episode. We go on a full spiel about Tyler Shuck and how sorry we are for him. But at least for Texas Tech fans, we have what I deem a competent backup to help lead us hopefully to some success this season. Sounds like Mark's not too high on y'all's boy Mad Max, huh?
I mean, yeah, I don't know. A lot of people are kind of like, oh, there's case scenarios we could be going to. They can play a ton of football, but I just feel
The
like
the hope, yeah.
quarterback's one of those positions that I feel like I can kind of watch and just know when you have it or you don't, and he has no juice.
They're like me. They're just the hopeless optimist. Joe, how are you doing, brother? What's
Dude,
good,
I'm
man?
doing wonderful. We had a hell of a weekend. Big Pick Army went 6-1. We ravaged the bookie this weekend. Brings
Yeah.
us 15-7 on the year, hitting at a 68% win rate. So I mean,
Boom.
no complaints over here. Fire as always. And I'm expecting another big weekend on Saturday.
So I know Laney's Locks is all the way over in the south of France, French Riviera, but I felt like the three of us, we could feel his presence with us on Saturday,
I
watching
sure
that.
could.
Watching, and I'm really pissed off that, I mean, I don't say pissed off because I had a great time in Broken Bow, Nick Thompson's bachelor party, a lot of fun. But I wish I could have put more clips out, and maybe I'll go back and I'll sync them, put them side by side, put them together. More clips of just the great banter and debate and spirited conversation between our boy Magic Mark and Laney's Locks. Them talking about this game. And if when Lane comes back, and I can't wait to hear you guys, go into it again. Just two great guys being dudes with football opinions. That's all it is. Guys being dudes, man. But yeah, Lane,
Yeah,
we could feel his presence, Mark, during that Oregon Oregon Colorado game.
for sure. I mean, like I said, we're waiting for him to get back. I'm sure he's just going to give it to me. I said what I said, and I stand by what I said. So we'll get into that later.
And I'll give you this, Mark, because it helps my team out. It makes us look a little bit better despite being 1-3. I do think Oregon is a wagon. I really do. I'm not just at the quarterback position. I think Oregon is a wagon, like all the way around. So I'll say
USC is
that.
gonna have a really USC is gonna have a really tough time with them whenever they meet up because I feel like I mean obviously USC can move the ball but USC can't really stop anybody. Oregon's defense is definitely for real.
Yeah,
Especially if it's in Eugene. Is that
Mhm.
yeah, right?
I'm not sure where it's at. That's a good question.
I
Yeah, I
know
looked
I
it
know
up.
Lane had a big weekend too. He went 4-1 on his picks last weekend. He is also hitting at a 68% win rate. And you know, big pick, Laney's locks. We're firing on all cylinders. We're trying to drag the sludge along with us with Magic Mark and Chef. But
Hey, I will say this, Chef, for the first time ever, if you listen to last week's rip, Big Pick Joe, we rode together, and I think our record is a solid like 1-57 whenever we go in on a bet together. We are now at 2 wins. We took brushed away our demons. got it done. We had to ride the Texas Longhorns to do it, but Joe, it felt good. I can't remember if I took Tech on the pod. I'm gonna pretend that I didn't. Chef is back, baby. I'm 1-0, 1-0, undefeated in week 4, ready for week 5. I'm gonna be tweeting those picks out later on. Fellas, let's get into the meat and potatoes right here, right now. Week 5. At this point in time, you're starting to separate the men from the boys somewhat. I still think there's a little bit of variable outcome here that maybe you can't expect. But for the most part, you know who your Jimmies and Joes are, and you know who are those that have a legitimate chance at finding their way to a conference championship game, to a college football playoff, upper echelons versus the dreamers. You know who the pretenders are, the dreamers are, and who the contenders are. So what do we got? I'm gonna start with you, Joe. You look like you're fired up. You're coming off a big weekend. Give it to us, big dog. I know you've been doing a lot of analysis on this.
Yeah, and I think to tag along with what your point was, Vegas is getting sharp now. These lines are razor thin. There's not any gimmies out there. They're on their stuff. So you find value where you can, and I think I've got 5 picks where I found some good value. My first, and I'm sticking with my themes of the season. You don't abandon script. You stick to the game plan and you follow it out the whole season. My 2 themes this week are fade bad teams and and back teams that are not being respected that should be. So I think these first 2 lines are disrespectful for the way these 2 football teams have been playing. My first pick, Kansas plus 17 going on the road against the Texas Longhorns. I think Jalen Daniels and Kansas have been playing very well. 4-0 football team. 17's a lot of points. I know Texas is playing lights out this far as well,
Yeah.
but 17 points I think is too many. This isn't Baylor. I know we were on Texas last week and they blew out Baylor, but this Kansas football team's the real deal. They got a high-powered offense, and I think 17 is too many. Number 2, I'm back in the Duke Blue Devils. This is another line I look at plus 5.5, and the Blue Devils just aren't getting the respect that they deserve. They have an average win margin of about 28 points. Notre Dame, they're a good football team too. Not Sam Howell. Who's their quarterback? Sam Hartman. Sam Hartman looked good, but not great. I think this Duke football team plus 5.5. I'd lean that way, and I think they cover in a close game. Number 3, this is where I get into my fading bad teams. This Akron football team is playing a god-awful Buffalo team. Buffalo they're not good at anything outside of the top 100 and all advanced stats. This Akron team's coming off a scrappy game with Indiana where they outplayed Indiana, ended up losing that game. Take Akron minus 2.5 against a god-awful Buffalo team.
Hey, real quick, and this is why people subscribe to the RIP for this kind of in-depth analysis. Akron, Buffalo, there's nobody else that you know in your friend group or, in your sphere of influence that is digging deep and finding these kind of bets. When Vegas is getting sharp, Big Pick Joe's getting sharper, man, and he's getting in there and he's digging in the weeds. I love it, man.
Going to the MAC for a winner. I love that, Joe. I love that.
I love going to these small time conferences, the MAC, the Sun Belt, all the G5 teams. Akron, they cover against Buffalo. The other one, number 4, Georgia State. I gave this one out on Twitter last week against Coastal Carolina. Plus 7 last week was just way too easy. They ended up winning the game outright. Darren Granger, the guy's having a heck of a season. He's thrown for 7 touchdowns this year, ran in another 3. This team is beat up on UConn, Charlotte, and Coastal Carolina last week. They're beating quality teams. This week, -1, Georgia State. They're the better team. And I will remind you, this will be the last time you get a good price on Georgia State.
Inside baseball.
Vegas is getting sharp. You got to go against the primetime games. You dig in the weeds and you find the value. Number 5, And this quarterback for Georgia Tech, a lot of A&M fans will be very familiar with, Mr. Haynes King.
Oh, boo.
Mr. Throw it from 6 yards back. Haynes King, though, this is not College Station Haynes King. This guy has thrown for 11 touchdowns this year, averaging 250 passing yards through 4 games, only 2 picks. This team played a close game against Louisville in the opener, beat Wake Forest last week. Big number, -22. But again, fading bad teams. They're playing a god awful Bowling Green team who is right there with Buffalo, just down in the dumpster. Don't be afraid of -22. Georgia Tech goes in there and steamrolls them.
Look,
That's all for that.
a couple things, man. I do like. First off, let's bring it back to Mr. King, the East Texas legend. I forgot where he's at, like the Lobos.
Longview.
Longview, that's right, man. The Fighting Matthew McConaughey's. Dude, there's that A&M graphic. I love it. They go, last year they're like, hey, here's our starter. Let's get ready for this season. And they pop it up. And my man is in the middle of a throw. They're highlighting his mechanics, and he's right here. His arm is back here, like iRobot, dude, like back there, and he's looking like this on the throw. And it was at that point I knew A&M might be ass cheeks and go 5-7.
Yeah, we touched on it. I've seen a lot of useless quarterbacks, particularly from A&M at that position, and he takes the cake out of the worst ones I've seen in the post-Manziel era. So
I'm sorry,
good luck
Haynes
laying
King.
points with him.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, hey, this is
not a friend of the program.
This is not a Haynes. Yeah, this is not a Haynes King Stan show. There's no love lost between Marky Mark and Haynes King.
Hey, I'm not calling him a Heisman candidate. I just want him to beat up on a bad Bowling Green team. I mean, I'm loyal to the board. I'm not loyal to the team or the player.
But what Mark's saying, I think, is that, hey, right here, Bowling Green, they got one thing going for them. It's this right here. They got heart, man. They got heart. When you put on that Bowling Green uniform, you don't have much, dude. All you have is your pride and your dignity to hold on to. I want to make a point. I love one of your picks, Joe, and we're going to go back to the Big 12. Kansas. People are still kind of sleeping on this team. They really have turned over a new leaf. You're getting back to what's his name? Todd Reese, Mangino, or who was their coach? It was Mangino, wasn't it? Big guy.
Yeah, the big guy, big fella, yeah.
Mangino, Tyrese days when they were top 10. I mean, I'm not saying they're that caliber quite yet, but they went bowling last year. Joe was really high on their team total, which I think again was a steal this year, or Colorado's was the steal this year. But Kansas is starting to kind of turn around, laying a lot of points, 17 on the road next week. Red River rivalry. Last time in the Big 12. Texas is feeling really high and mighty after beating OU's ass 48-49-0 last year. I also think this is somewhat of a trap game. When you hear Kansas, it's hard to get up for Kansas, man. I mean, they're just still, you think of them as that doormat. Kind of like people thought of Baylor before Art Briles got in there and tried to, get them kind of relevant. I think that UT could win this game. They might pull it out, but I have a feeling they're going to be looking ahead, man, to the State Fair, hot dogs, corn dogs, slushies, pretzels, and playing the Oklahoma Sooners this season, who they might deem as their last real test. Kansas could make this one interesting. I'm with you on that, Joe. I might ride.
I see this game as like maybe a 21-point game in Texas's favor, and you get down late in the fourth quarter and you get a backdoor cover or something like that. But I just think this Kansas offense is too good to be getting plus 17. I think Mark had similar logic last week back in Colorado. You like the quarterback, you like the offense, too many points, and I'm going to steal his line. Like, I can bet with my head and I can live if I lose.
Yeah. Well, also Texas hadn't put together a decent game at home yet. They hadn't played a good home game. So
they do start slow too. So you see Kansas get up early and maybe just ride it out. We'll see.
It could get squirrely over there in ATX, man, in the 40 acres, the nutty woods of the 40 acres. Mark, I mean, I know you're like I said, you've been floating in the middle, kind of ready, you're in good position to make a move and really take Tail Magic Mark Nation to the moon, man. You just got to find your mark and then pounce on it. What do you got for us this week?
Yeah, so I mean, like you said, I've been kind of hovering around 500. Not too bad, not too good. But I'm gonna start the comeback per se with backing two teams that traditionally, if you do back, you usually get rich doing it. So my first pick is gonna be Alabama minus 14.5 at Mississippi State. I think Alabama struggling earlier in the gates. This is probably why this line isn't in the 20s. I think Alabama's definitely just going to run the football down Mississippi State throat. Mississippi State hasn't looked great. I know it's a new coach in there, so I think this is traditionally, traditional Alabama teams. They're laying, more than 3 touchdowns in this game. I'm going to take the 14.5 at Starkville. I'm assuming the Tide get it done.
I
The
like that.
like I touched earlier, back in teams that traditionally have been pretty good. Georgia is laying 14.5 at Auburn. Auburn looked terrible against us last weekend. They cannot move the ball at all. Georgia held Rattler in South Carolina to like 14 points, and Rattler's a pretty good quarterback. So I know this kid from Auburn is going to have absolutely no chance. This game could be. I don't really see Auburn scoring a touchdown. So if Georgia gets you a few points there, I like laying that number on the road. Third pick, this line didn't really make a lot of sense to me. Navy and USF, the total's 54.5. Now USF obviously had that 3 point game against Alabama. They haven't really lit up any team, and the Navy's Navy. They never score points. 54 is
Yeah.
kind of a lot of points, so I'm gonna take that under there. I know I said I wouldn't give out another under, but that feels too hot for me. So let me go ahead and take the under there.
Hey, look, Mark.
Four,
I'm a like an American patriot, a military man. And I'm not in the military, but what I mean by that is I support the military. I'm a supporter. Look, I love the Navy. They're great at a lot of things, baby. They're great at keeping the boys and girls in America safe. One thing they're not great at is scoring points in football games. We could sit
that's
there and
right.
we could talk about a lot of things the Navy does well. Scoring points is not one of them.
Well, another thing
I
too
would say
is
that's a marquee pick right there.
you get some South Florida guys going. They just had a big win against Rice. Going up north to Maryland at Navy. Sometimes that triple option can get tricky, man. Um,
Yeah.
I like that. I like that pick, Mark.
Real quick, I
Yeah.
also want to give a quick plug to another America, just a huge believer in America, lover of hot dogs, lover of 4th of July, American, true red-blooded American. That's our sponsor for this RIP episode, Josh Griffon with the TIG team at Remax Fine Properties. He is the best realtor that I have worked, one of the best I should say that I've worked with in the greater Houston area. It's hard, you'd be hard pressed to find someone who does not make it easier on his clients to go out and either commercial or residential, find a property and get a deal closed for them. Again, commercial and residential, DM us on Instagram at Ramblin' Raiders, Twitter at Ramblin' Raiders, TikTok at Ramblin' Raiders, wherever you need to get a hold of us. Shoot us an email, ramblingraiders.com. If you're interested, Josh Griffon, TIG team at Remax, he cuts deals for Texas Tech alumni association members that people can attest to. Good percentages on houses there. He also does that for Ramblin' Raiders followers and lovers of the podcast and of our content. If you're a Red Raider, if you're a Ramblin' Raider fan, if you're part of the Alumni Association, Josh Griffon's going to take care of you with some good deals that he has for commercial and residential properties. Josh Griffon, TIG team, hit him up, hit us up, and we'll get y'all connected. Back to my boy, Magic Mark.
Yeah, so Joe touched on it earlier, going to the MAC for a winner. I'm also going to a subpar conference. We're kicking off Mountain West Conference play this weekend. Fresno's got Nevada at home. Nevada's 0-4. They just lost to Texas State. So they're laying 24.5. I feel like every time it's late, I turn on Fresno and they're shutting somebody out. So I imagine that they have a pretty easy time with Nevada at home. The last pick that I'm going to go with, and kind of has been the theme of the pod to go against this team. This is a scandal pick. They just let out word that they're firing their coach officially. Iowa is laying 11.5 versus Michigan State at home. Michigan State, their program is in total shambles. Iowa, they got absolutely their ass kicked last weekend against Penn State. They look terrible, so I feel like they're going to be fired up, getting off the mat for this one in front of the home crowd. They're going to want to beat shit out of somebody, and Michigan State's perfect candidate.
Michigan State just so happened to like be in line of this tornado coming through, this fury. I mean, the Big Ten is kind of assy McGee right now. I feel like besides Penn State and I mean, I guess Ohio State. I don't know if Notre Dame's legit or not. Oh, and Michigan's solid, but I was reading up earlier. People are a little bit down on the Big Ten right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those conferences that I feel like you don't really know who's who until like November. I mean, they just so much of their schedules are cupcakes, and then it's like you said, once the big players run into each other, the Michigans, the Penn States, the Ohio States, that's when you figure out who's who. So I definitely think the Big Ten's down, and I mean, nobody's really messing with the Pac-12 right now.
You know who's really down is Ohio State's head coach, Coach Day, trying to take out the GOAT, Lou Holtz, man. I mean, what was that shit about? He came at my man who's 80, what else Holtz now? 86?
86. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean,
Hey.
you got to think in Ryan Day's head, he was thinking about Lou Holtz, who's got 1 foot in the grave. He doesn't know what the hell he's saying half the time.
Hey, anyway. This guy, he's past his George Clooney years. He's in his, I don't even know what, what's his name? Oh, my God. Stephen Hawking is, what is, not Nicolas Cage. Who's the dude? Oh, my God. I can't believe I'm blank on this guy's name. Who's always at the Lakers games. Old as hell.
Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson. He's in his Jack Nicholson, Morgan Freeman years, man. I mean, we're talking way down the line. The sunset is really closing, and you're just enjoying every day you have left. And I mean, here we go. We got my boy Ryan Day. Hey, look, you want to come at me? I'm a man, right? I can handle that. You don't go after our barely functioning, can't really form sentences, Mitch McConnell. Daffy Duck, Mitch McConnell grandpa, who we love. That's America's grandpa, man. Come on.
He wasn't making sense 10 years ago. I don't know why we're worried about what he's saying now.
They had that man stumbling on ESPN segments worse than Lee Corso. Yeah. And people still rode for Lou Holtz, and then you barely beat the Fighting Irish, who again I don't really know quite how good they are yet, but you're gonna take a shot. Hey, if you take a shot at the king, you better go. You better go for the crown. You better go for the head, baby, because those words can come back to bite you in the ass. And we ride for Lou Holtz.
That Notre Dame game was tough. That dropped interception, and then the last 2 plays of the game, the one that they scored the last touchdown on, Notre Dame only had 10 men on the field, so it was just that was a brutal loss.
I want to go back to your Fresno State pick. This Nevada team's they've only got 1 win on the season. They're a long way away from
they're good.
Okay.
They're
so they've been playing bad. This team's a long way away from the Romeo Dobbs days, and they're just an awful football team. And I do love a late night action. That's like, hey, maybe my picks weren't so great. Let's chase a little bit. So I like having an inside source on that late night action.
No, I mean that's. I want Magic Mark Army to know that is time zones and when kickoffs are definitely a factor in my card. They're definitely what I'm looking at. Want to make sure I'm laying out some action through the entire day.
Yeah, which also, I mean, it could turn on you too. I think Fresno State will probably be the public's favorite on that one, but I don't know. I'm definitely not running to the window to back Nevada. So,
you'd have to be sick, man. You'd have to be sick.
Something, yeah, no, the wires aren't computing right, man. You got some stuff malfunctioning if you're doing that. Which, if you are, hit us up because we like your style. Last but not least, I have a mailbag question actually from Ramblin' Raiders team member, correspondent, host himself, Jack Bell. He wanted me to ask the sharpest of the sharps right here on this show. One question. He's in a pick'em. You can do the spread. This is all NFL, and then we can end it on this note. over, under, or spread. He said when it comes to the spread, you can't pick these 4 games: Lions at Packers, Dolphins at Bills, Chiefs at Jets, or Seahawks at Giants. If it's the over under in any of those games, they're fair. He needs a lock, certifiable, something that he can stake his reputation and his financial literacy, financial well being on. What are you guys gonna throw his way?
I have a boots on the ground lock. I will be in attendance at this game. Sunday, Texans are getting +3 against the Steelers at home. Texans, we can talk whatever about the game. There is something that really matters, and that is that J.J. Watt is getting his jersey retired this Sunday. So +3 at home, Watt jersey retirement. No way we lose. No way.
Love
The only
that,
way you
Joe.
lose that game is if his brother TJ Watt spoils the game.
Yeah.
I would say my lock. I like this week. Eagles laying -8 against a bad Washington Commanders team. Sam Howell threw his only completions last week were to the Buffalo Bills defense. I see the Eagles getting up on them early and covering the -8 easily. Commanders' offensive line has been pretty bad, and Eagles D line should get all over them. So, I mean, the NFL is a toss-up. It's hard to bet on those. So, looking for a lock is harder than it sounds. But I do like Eagles -8, and the Texans have been a scrappy team all year. So, I don't hate that pick either.
Okay, good deal, man. Well, I think both of those could get it done for Jack Bell or anyone else who's in an NFL pick'em with those same metrics, and same teams on their slate that are available. Any last words, boys? I'm going to tweet out, be looking out for the chef. Like I said, we went 1-0 last weekend. I didn't have time. I had a lot going on this week work-wise. The 9 to 5 really hindered me from being able to take a good look at the board, but I will have some picks tweeted out either Friday or Thursday, so stay tuned for that. You can follow my chef account at ChefJ22. Big Pick, which is yours just at Big Pick Joe?
Yeah.
Big Pick Joe, and then
Joe on Twitter.
At Tell Magic Mark, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's correct.
And Laney's Locks is so deep in some French bottle of wine and escargot and whatever the hell else, baguettes and all that shit, man. He's just having a good old time. Yeah, he's having a good old time out there, man, with the Frenchies, and I doubt he'll be able to give us any picks this week. But great episode, week 5. We got to savor every one of these because it's over. It's all over before you know it, man. It goes by like a flash.
Exactly.
I do have a shout out to all my Texas State Bobcats.
Oh, yeah.
And especially one Bobcat out there, the Texas State band member. And I love when fans can sway the momentum of a football game. And this guy certainly did his part. This band member was on the sideline against their game last week against Nevada, stole the mascot's trident and threw it in the student section. Mind you, Texas State at this point is down 17-0. He gets kicked out of the stadium, later is suspended. Texas State goes on to score 35 unanswered points to rally and win the game. I love a fan that does his part, and kudos to you, man.
Wait, was his
into
name?
His own hands.
Was his?
I couldn't find his name.
I was gonna say, are you sure his name wasn't like Brent and he accidentally killed a guy? Because Brent killed a guy with a trident, just like that. They say only like 2 Nevada students were hospitalized. It was worth getting the dub. I wouldn't even trade it for anything. I mean, they ended up making it, and it was worth getting the dub. You're telling me this guy went full. He picked the trident up and said, I want to taste. And he tried to.
Threw it, and I guess one of his fellow band members got it on video, and that's a video you have it, but you archive it. You can't spread that around. And,
legally, you have to keep that below the surface.
Yeah, and for anybody listening, I believe the trident was plastic, so nobody was killed.
So Brent did not kill a guy.
Yeah. But this
and-
guy, man, he didn't like the way his team was playing, and he had to go and do something about it. And he turned the tide for that Texas State football game, and they came back and got a victory. 35 unanswered points after that event.
that's incredible. He wasn't the hero. He wasn't the hero they deserved, but he was the hero they needed in that moment.
Exactly.
I love that, man. Look, another big week ahead of us. Our teams, prayers up for Aggies and Red Raiders everywhere with the quarterback injuries. Arkansas. That's right. Aggies got Arkansas in
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
Gary's
say.
World, right?
Yeah. I wanted to close out with that. I'm not a turncoat, so I'm not going to bet this. I'm not going to give this out. But what I am saying, if I was an unbiased member of the status of Texas A&M's program right now, Arkansas plus 6.5. I do. You're definitely going to be in the game in the fourth quarter. I can tell you that.
There you have it. It'll be a close one. Hey,
What was
y'all
your
own
thing at the
Arkansas.
beginning of betting on teams that are in historically have made you money, and that's any team A&M?
Yeah, I mean, dude, like I said, my degrees are A&M, but my loyalty's to the board, and
Hey,
I don't see us being very good for the rest of this year.
I'll tell you this. I believe in trends, though, and the trends tell me that A&M owns Arkansas in the last couple of years when they've played together since A&M joined the SEC. So I wouldn't be so sure. I like the Aggies. And the other team who's owned U of H is the Texas Tech Red Raiders. 10-1 in the last 11 meetings. We've only lost to them one time since your boy was born in 1992. I'm a big believer in the trends, baby. The pendulum is not swinging back this weekend. Give me the Red Raiders in Lubbock, and I'll even take the Aggies in DFW. Money line, though. I want a money line. That's on the record.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, we do kind of own Arkansas, but that game always seems to be in overtime.
I'll give you that.
It's close.
It's always
Didn't
sway.
y'all
It's
lose to
always
them
sway.
last year?
No, we won. That's one of our 5 wins from last year. Yeah,
But
that
the
was the
year
day.
before
That was
that,
your wedding day, Joe. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And the year before that was the first time they beat them. Like Arkansas had won, I think, in a long ass time.
Yeah.
So, anyways, all right.
I think we're like 10-1.
That's it, baby. All right, so vibes are good despite our teams being down. Feel good about this Saturday. Tweet at us. Let us know who you're riding with, who you're fading. We will take the bets to the book. You take the blings to the bank. This is the RIP, powered by the Ramblin' Raiders podcast, Ramblin' Raiders Entertainment. We love you guys. We'll see y'all next time. Hopefully, like I said on the last step, I don't throw my back out trying to turn this thing off.